If you're like me, there are few joys on this earth greater than getting together with a few buddies and playing a couch co-op or same-screen local multiplayer game. There's just something so great about being in close proximity with your pals to be able to gauge reactions, trash talk, and just generally be in the same room with the people you're having fun with. Of course, about the only way to do that on my platform of choice, the PC, is to plug in a whole bunch of USB gamepads, the best ones usually being 360 pads. Most games that you would want to use a 360 pad on PC have default mappings for the 360 pad anyway. If you're also like me, then you've experienced the puerile horror and disgust that is using a bad aftermarket controller. If you grew up playing consoles with siblings or just friends that didn't have the system, then you probably had one of these Player 2 controllers. The nightmares. They keep coming back. Luckily for you though, I've gone through the gauntlet on Xbox 360 controllers, from first-party Microsoft to store brand, to even purpose-made PC pads. Most of these are pretty okay to use on both 360 and PC, but a couple of them are real stinkers when it comes to quality. Here today I have 4 aftermarket controllers that I've used for a few years that I think span the gap on quality, both for the 360 and PC as far as usability. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the 4 controllers that I have are the Logitech F310. This is a purpose-made PC controller. The Xbox 360 Rock Candy branded controller, the GameStop branded 360 controller, and the Afterglow 360 controller. Now all of these are wired because I think it's just better for PC gaming, and I bought all of these to use on a PC. Plus, if you want to use a wireless controller, you pretty much have to buy the first-party Microsoft wireless and have the wireless dongle. It is pretty nice, but at the end of the day, you're still using batteries, and if you're hardcore, there might be a little bit of latency that you have to deal with there. But let's go ahead and get into the performance with the individual gamepads.
Starting off, we have the Logitech F310. This is the only purpose-made PC controller out of the bunch, and it's also the one that differs the most from the first party with its analog stick placement and mode buttons. The cable on the F310 is by far the most flimsy and thin in the lineup, as well as being the only one without a stress release on the line. The mode button on the front of the controller, for whatever reason, switches the functionality of the left stick and D-pad. The X and D toggle switch on the back of the controller changes the input from direct input to X input. This is useful for some compatibility on certain PC games, but usually isn't a problem. The shoulder buttons are by far this controller's best feature, with very responsive buttons and analog triggers. Next up is the Rock Candy branded 360 controller. These are great for their eye-popping colors and reasonable price point. The face and shoulder buttons are both very solid. The cable is long and quite durable, and also has a stress release and a ferrite core online. For me, the one fatal flaw of this controller is that there's no rubber on the analog sticks. This makes them very slick and hard to use while gaming. The overall build quality of the Rock Candy is very good, but the analog sticks really hold it back. Next up is the GameStop controller. This one looks almost exactly like the Microsoft first party pad. The analog sticks have great grip, the face buttons are responsive, and the D-pad is as good as you'll get on a 360 pad. The whole body of the controller has a nice texturized plastic grip to it as well. The triggers for me are the best in the lineup. The bumpers are very responsive and the triggers have good travel on them. The cable on the GameStop branded controller is very sturdy, long, has a stress release and a ferrite core online. Last but not least is the Afterglow branded controller. This controller is almost exactly like the Rock Candy controller, except that it has rubber analog sticks and has an LED glow function. The cable on the Afterglow is long and sturdy enough, but can be damaged by rolling it up too many times. It also does have a stress release and ferrite core on the line. The triggers on the Afterglow are excellent and have good travel, yet the bumpers are squishy and unresponsive. The bumpers are the only thing holding this controller back from being one of the best controllers in the lineup. There's also a button on the rear of the controller that controls the glow, either on, off, or on with vibration.
So there you have it. As far as I'm concerned, the GameStop pad and the Afterglow pad really take the cake as far as quality with the aftermarket controllers. The Rock Candy one is alright, but like I talked about in the individual performance, the surfaces on the buttons are just too slick for me. This leaves the Logitech F310, and this one is really just not worth getting. I even keep an extra Afterglow controller around for a fourth controller, even if I already have 4 of them. The strange analog stick placement and the cable quality just really mess it up for me. This has been TechAmp. As always, thanks for watching, guys, and like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, and comment if there's some in-between emotion that you can't display by a thumbs up or thumbs down. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.